every time, I can speak to this event. I can speak to individual events. So I have said that when we became aware there was a 5-hour delay, then we immediately, but as the chief of police, I immediately requested that our internal affairs, PIB unit, open a formal investigation, which is why we will go back and ask all the players at hand, the sergeant, the lieutenant, the officers, the dispatch, everybody, what happened. And that's what I mean by taking facts and putting them into context to get to an answer. We want all of our community to be able to call us with confidence that we will serve you well. In this particular case, from the fact alone, there was a delay, and I cannot tell you the why behind that yet.
Shay?
If you could just talk a little bit more about how Bryan could have gotten into the lagoon, how long he had been there, and then also, a lot of people are talking about how they feel like NOPD kind of gave up on the search. The Navy, the Cajun Navy was there. You all weren't. Could you talk to that too, about, days ago, suspending the search?
Right. So the Cajun Navy, as you know, are incredible volunteers, but they also, through their years, have developed an expertise in search and rescue. So we also had the LSP out there. We had a lot of different agencies with dogs, and we tried to do the search and rescue, but we also are doing an investigation. And so I thank the Cajun Navy, I thank the state police who brought helicopters, who brought drones, we brought our own drones and so forth. But that is the fact of the matter as well, that in partnership, we all kind of lean toward our expertise, and search and rescue many times are more of an expertise of different units. In this case, we're fortunate in the state of Louisiana to have volunteers, the Cajun Navy, who also have some instrumentality that we don't always have. They had sonar, so I understand it, sonar drone. Our drones are not sonar. So, I mean, things like that.
And one more question.
Yeah.
We heard reports about there being some type of language barrier as to why that 5-hour gap took place between NOPD and being able to respond to the call. Is there any validity to that? Can you talk to that at all?
Yeah, I can't yet because that's, again, one of those facts that I don't have until the investigation is complete. When this investigation is complete, you're going to be given access to that. And all of those issues will be looked into as to did it play at all in the delay.
Do we know how long Bryan was in the room?
I don't. Again, now I will tell you that the coroner will be doing an examination tomorrow. And from that examination, we should have some more information for you. And so we're going to keep you informed as this investigation continues.
Ashley?
As this investigation continues, do you not want to see a setback with the public feeling like they can trust you guys to actually show up on time?
You know, that's fair. And anytime that people feel that we have not served them well, it always is going to play into that. My job is to try to correct any errors that are on our part in order to have the community have confidence that we will indeed, wherever that we also are like sports where we go back and we debrief, what did we do? So that's common that we're going to go back and say, what did we do well? What did we not do well? What can we correct? And I think as a learning organization and an organization that's always going to lean into trying to be the best of the best, when we haven't been the best, then we will get it corrected so that people can have confidence in us, not that we'll look away. I've always said that I have never shied away from difficult situations, difficult questions, and I'm not going to today. And that, I hope, gives the community confidence. We perform day in and day out. Our call for service load is amazing. thousands and thousands of calls where we're not late, none, and so we gotta likewise put NOPD in context as well. And so where there's a failure, it will be corrected, but I also ask that the community look at us as well in totality of the circumstance.
Yes, sir.
From Telemundo. So is the people gonna receive an answer about this incident, if it's an accident or if there's something else in this case of Bryan Vasquez?
We are looking at the totality of circumstances, which is why there's an investigation. And so we don't have a full answer for you, but we're looking into that.
Chris?
Missy's.
Okay.
Oh,
right?
Missy, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I knew
Oh,
over-
that's okay, thanks,
Go-
Chris.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, my question is regarding the location where the child was found. My understanding is this area was very near where he went missing and that it had been searched initially, but then he surfaced there today. Do you know why that happened?
Well, we know that he surfaced, and sometimes in situations, whether it's a drowning or there is a death associated with a drowning issue, it is also not uncommon that the body may raise, and that's what we think potentially had happened. So, but it was about, it's my understanding, about 200 yards, which is 2 football fields, away where we think that he could have gone in.
How many Spanish-speaking officers and dispatch officers were working the case or are currently working the case, would you say?
One of the lead detectives working in conjunction with others is Spanish-speaking. We do have several Spanish-speaking officers, but one of the detectives is Spanish-speaking.
Do you
Yep.
feel
So
like
Shay, let me
NOPD
jump in and ask my question. Everybody's taking a
Yeah.
turn.
Go ahead.
Shay's just
Hold on.
We
jumping in.
understand.
Hold on, settle down.
I'm going to take care of everybody,
Yeah.
okay?
Hold
Okay.
on.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask my question since we're going down the line,
Okay.
out of respect. So, Superintendent, if you could, I know you mentioned that foul play, we're looking into that possibility. At this time, are you all possibly questioning any suspects or anything like that?
We don't have a suspect. There's not a suspect identified. We're looking at everyone's situation, their history, their backgrounds, and everything based on what we've been told. And so that's why all facts have to be put into context, but there is no suspect, okay? Circumstances is what we have now.
And I know other outlets have reported that Bryan had a history of sneaking away. In this case, do you all believe that that had anything to do with that, or his disappearance, or
yeah.
was, has a mother had any previous allegations against her?
Let me speak to the fact that I know of I know of one other event in which Bryan, within the last month, had left home and was discovered unaccompanied. And so we do know that. And so wandering would not be unusual either for a special needs child. However, you know, how many times in the history that we will be looking at, is there more than a few incidences? And so history matters. And then, Chris, you asked me specifically, what was your second question?
If the mother has faced any previous allegations or has been under investigation before?
The answer is yes.
Okay, who's that?
You speak
That's
any
me, Telemundo
Spanish?
Radio.
Telemundo, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I go back like what Brenda say, our community is complaining that sometimes they dial 911, maybe there is a language barrier, and they say, if it's any emergency, somebody's in trouble, somebody even shot, you'll respond like a day later or hours later. Another complaint that we heard through the week, because we've been back and forth, is the Amber Alert. Like, they keep saying that they can bring, like, the whole community.
Right.
And we had 2 radio stations. They keep calling and saying, why not, why not? And they feel like, I'm sorry to tell you, but I gotta say it publicly, your response was very low compared with what they were expecting in our community. And I don't know if it's a language barrier between the police and our community,
Right.
or something is that just breaking the middle
Sure.
between our communities, you know?
Sure. So I personally was out there that afternoon. after the report came in. I personally inquired about an Amber Alert. The Amber Alerts come through the state police.
Right.
So while I was there, I was educated, if you will, that the state police indicated that it did not fit an Amber Alert. And I even contacted higher-ups in the state police to make sure that I was clear about that. And that apparently was the situation. The Amber Alert required that we would be able to say that Bryan was abducted.
Yeah.
At the time, we couldn't say that, but we couldn't say that he wasn't.
Yeah, but now we say possibly is foul play. So,
Let me put it this way. We have an investigation. We are going to look into history. We're going to look into patterns. We know and have information that as I said, I did not necessarily want that to be for today, but y'all started to make some inquiries, so there are public information out there that we assumed you already knew. And so as you started to question us earlier today, we wanted this to be about Bryan's recovery. We wanted to allow for grieving because that's appropriate, but we also were not going to shy away. As I said, you probably have what we know as well, and that needs to be looked into.
Alyssa?
You mentioned there was a death investigation. Is this a homicide investigation? Can you explain what
No,
would trigger?
no, we have an unclassified death. And so we do not have a homicide as of yet. We have an unclassified death, but that does lead us to have to continue to look at everything at hand.
I know in the OPCD designation when they're dispatching, missing person and missing juvenile are the same classification. Can you talk about that and talk about if there's any plans to maybe look into that and maybe add another designation?
There is a designation. I'm actually going to have Chief Gernon speak to that about those designations, because there are a general classification and then a more specific category, and I will let the chair
So,
speak to it.
as you probably know, a few years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, OPCD, Orleans Parish Communications District, completely upgraded its system. So there's a lot of nuance in the system. But based on what happened here, we know that our partners at OPCD, which is its own independent, department, it's a government agency, are going to go back and look at those protocols to make sure that they are appropriately set. There are some big classifications. You have missing adult, you have missing juvenile, but then they have some nuance to those classifications that as the call taker is taking in information, they type in comments, and then the system classifies what it's reading based on the comments that are being typed in. And then the second part of that is that is part of the investigation that we opened up a week or so, 2 weeks ago, to look into the delayed response, right? So was the communications protocol in need of improvement, or was our response in need of improvement? But that's not answers that we can give you today, because that's the kind of answers that we expect that we're going to get out of our investigation. It's fair?
All right, one last question, Shay.
Will you all be releasing the 911 audio call from that day?
Sure.
And also my next question is, will there be more resources going forward put into making sure that there are enough people who can communicate with all communities, all different speaking communities within?
Yeah, so, and I'm going to have the chief remark in a minute. I will tell you, and I know the public would not necessarily know this, it's just dispatch, when you call 911, you are not calling NOPD. A lot of people don't realize that. So the initial call takers and how many of them are bilingual, we can find that out, but they're not under us. But we will look into that because it's a fair fact. That's where it begins, right? Is who's taking the call. We do have quite a few bilingual employees, and so I'm going to let the chief.
So the initial call, the dispatchers also have access to a language line. So if somebody calls in and they're not speaking English, or English is not their primary language, right? So if they feel more comfortable in another language, they connect them to the language line to be able to get the information out of them. When an OPD officer goes out there, we have, last I counted, about 27 certified interpreters. We pay them more so that we can encourage people to become certified interpreters. I think about 24 of them are Spanish and 3 are Vietnamese. And we also have, every officer has access to a Voyance app. We've discussed this in previous consent decree hearings where every officer has access to an 800 number that they can call, they put in their PIN number, and they can immediately get a individual that speaks whatever the primary language is of the person that they're speaking to. We've had demonstrations of this, we've talked about this. So we don't necessarily need a translator in person on scene all the time. A lot of times our officers will lean on that Voyance application that the department pays for, that service, so that our officers have that immediate access to those language resources.
Would you say NOPD failed, Bryan?
I don't know that yet. I will tell you that a 5-hour delay for me alone is one in which obviously I said something's not right here. I think that the death of Bryan is a failure. I think it is. And as I said, we're going to look at everything. I mean everything. And so I do want to kind of conclude my time with you. You also are fact finders. And that is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to seek truth just like we're supposed to seek truth, no matter where it leads, no matter to whom or whatever. Now we want to show courtesy. I want to show respect. I do understand grieving, as you do, and we're going to give room for that. But I also want to say, I also am aware that there are members of our community who are afraid to call us, okay? So what I want to encourage anyone, if you are afraid, please use Crime Stoppers. Now, Darlene Kazanza is right here. Everyone knows Darlene. She is the CEO of Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous. We won't ask for your name. If you have information at any time that would give confidence to our communities, go through Crime Stoppers and we will get the information. We just want your information. And with respect to this situation, there still may be people who saw Bryan, and we're still knocking doors. We're still looking for ring cameras. We're trying to get to truth just like you. And so please reach out. And if you don't trust us right now, and my heart's desire is to restore trust between the police department and our community. But if you are more comfortable, please go through Crime Stoppers, area code 504-822-1111. And we're going to continue with this until we get to the truth of the matter, whatever it might be. Okay? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all for coming out.
That is NOPD Superintendent. That is NOPD Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick. She is talking, of course, about the discovery of a body in New Orleans East that is believed to be the body of 12-year-old Bryan Vasquez. Now, what she did say and address is the fact that there was a 5-hour delay in the NOPD's response to try and start searching for him, one that may have been fatal in this case. Kirkpatrick did admit that it was an error and it was a failing by the NOPD in that lack of response time. She said they are owning that lack of response. They are looking into it and investigating why it is that happened. So lots of questions for the NOPD about how the situation was handled. She did give high praise to the United Cajun Navy, the volunteer search and recovery body that has formed after several hurricanes. They came out to try and help find this young man, and unfortunately they did assist in finding a body that is believed to be that of Bryan Vasquez today. We'll continue to follow this for you on WWL Louisiana and have the very latest on Channel 4 at 5 o'clock.